So, Michael, just to get you on the record here, above or below 500K at the end of the year?
It's going up, Matt. It's going up forever.
Forever, Michael. Forever.
It's going to go. It's going to go up and then come down and then go up and come down. But generally, it's going to be moving in the upward direction. Right now, my view is you want to own Bitcoin. For most people, most corporations and individuals, my advice would be buy as much Bitcoin as you can. The United States and the Western world will embrace Bitcoin because it's great technology.
Michael Saylor with a Bitcoin prediction of where he expects it to be towards the end of 2021. In this roundtable of Bitcoin figures and investors, Michael Saylor lets them all know how he thinks the Bitcoin narrative will play out through the remainder of the year. Stick around to the end of the video where we go over one recent piece of on-chain Bitcoin data that covers the most recent Bitcoin drop and where all the Bitcoin supply went. Also, only a tiny percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy the video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind. Enjoy the video.
I'm curious, like, where you think price-wise we're going to be at the end of this year.
Within this year, like that's not like in December.
December 31st, 2021.
I'm gonna say 500.
MicroStrategy has like 140,000 Bitcoin at this point. Things are really heating up. Where is Bitcoin? Where is Bitcoin at this point?
You know what? I don't in a long enough time frame, Laura, it is indeed going up forever. But I don't think we're past cycles. I'm gonna break from Michael's assumption. Oh, I don't know if that's fully your assumption. I know that in general you think it's going up forever, but I do think we do see those big corrections still. The reason I say that is because fucking Doge is through the roof. There's still morons like Jim Cramer celebrating selling half his stack. There's still so much irrationality, which hasn't even begun. Paris Hilton just dropped an NFT. Like this, it's 2017 with like a line of Coke is what's happening right now. And I think that we do see cycles, but I think that less and less people give a shit about the cycles because they're thinking longer than 2 months ahead. So I don't know, like if Michael, if you want to reply to that, do you think that the cycles are diminished or done, or I don't know, what do you think?
I don't think the cycles are extreme as they were before March of 2020. I think if you look at Bitcoin daily chart, if you look at the chart every single day since March of 2020, you see this pattern of serpentine growth where we advance by 30%, come back 15, advance 40, come back 20. And I almost see some of the volatility coming out. So I think that the institutions, they're going to have a damping effect on the upside. Like you're probably not going to get a parabolic 10x like over a month or 2 months, but they're going to have a damper on the downside. You're not going to get these crashes either. You're going to have speed, guardrails on either side. And otherwise, I think the primary driver is just going to be the wall of institutional money coming here. But maybe we could just segue to that. Why am I bullish? I'm bullish. I try to figure out how to talk in all caps. This is what I think. Well, what I do think by the end of the year, I think that we're certainly going to have ETFs in the market, and that'll be a big thing. And I think we're going to see all the major banks offer Bitcoin as a fund. You saw Morgan Stanley did it, but I think it's reasonable that you'll see Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Citigroup, et cetera, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America. I would think that the top 4 or top 5 banks by the end of the year will be offering Bitcoin funds. And you've already seen about 12 of notable influencers over the past 3 months flip to be, they went from being anti or skeptical Bitcoin to acknowledging that it's around to stay. So if Morgan Stanley had 18,000 people out there talking about the fund, you multiply that by 5, and I think you have 100 to 250,000 or more of these advisors for these banks starting to talk about it. And there's going to be a gradual spinning up process that will be good long term for the stability of the asset.
So, Michael, just to get you on the record here, above or below 500K at the end of the year?
He can't even answer.
It's going up, Matt. It's going up forever.
Forever, Michael. Forever.
It's going to go up and then come down and then go up and come down. But generally, it's going to be moving in the upward direction.
Are you concerned that you have 90,000 Bitcoin in a custodian? Like, should MicroStrategy hold their own Bitcoin? Is this something that MicroStrategy is considering? How do you think about the risks involved with having someone else hold that Bitcoin for you?
You know, when we started thinking about buying it, we had a choice. We could have acquired a lot of Bitcoin through a fund, and then we would have been locked into a custodian forever. But we decided to buy the underlying naked asset so that we would have control over the custodian. And right now, my view is you want to own Bitcoin, and for most people, most corporations and individuals, my advice would be buy as much Bitcoin as you can. Buy it, but if you're not in the position to self-custody it immediately, buy it through an agent or some avenue where you have the option to self-custody in the future when the time comes. There could be a time when MicroStrategy will self-custody, and we have the option to do it. I'll answer this in two ways. As a publicly traded company, I have all sorts of compliance and charter and corporate governance issues and accounting issues that I have to work through in order to properly assure all constituencies that we manage the corporation's assets properly. And that doesn't really preclude switching custodians, splitting custodians, or self-custodying. But in the first 12 months of a public company doing this, clearly we're walking before we're going to run. And I think that the only way that you're going to be comfortable with Bitcoin is to have the option to move it to any custodian in the world or to self-custody it yourself at all points in time. So always have the optionality. I think the way this thing ends with regard to the inflation is the economies are going to inflate, and they're going to do that until they can't. Right now they're not paying their bills with taxation, they're paying their bills with inflation. Weak currencies, weak economies are going to collapse. Some countries will lose their currency privileges. They're just going to go away, the Venezuelas of the world. And the strongest countries will spread their currencies. And then at some point, I'm an optimist. I believe that the United States and Europe and the Western world will embrace Bitcoin because it's great technology that's going to be worth hundreds of trillions of dollars to the human race. And once they realize that it's great technology, it's good for America, it's good for American technology, it'll be good for the dollar, it'll be bad for the weakest currencies. Then at some point, they will realize they can't keep expanding the supply of all the monies. They'll slow it down. We'll move with moderation, and the government will start to pay its bills with taxation. There'll be political maneuvering. Who should pay the tax? Will it be corporations? Will it be an income tax? Will it be a capital gains tax? Will there be some other contribution? The world will restructure itself rationally, but in a world where half of the money is Bitcoin, it'll be some kind of peaceful negotiation with all of the entities involved in order to build a better world based upon a better technology. Nobody expects that we'll keep inflating the currency at 20% a year forever, except if the country is Venezuela and they do it, we know how that'll end. So I'm expecting that in the Western world, they'll embrace technology. They will eventually change. Look, even Jerome Powell in his interview, he says, well, we can't keep doing what we're doing forever, but the current amount of debt we can sustain. And in the future, something will have to change. Like I think all the politicians know something will have to change in the future. I like the idea that MicroStrategy could take custody of its own Bitcoin when and if it needs to. It won't happen this year, but you know, life is long, and what I've said before is you can't trust any custodian. So maybe you have to move from custodian A to custodian B. Maybe you're in, if your custodian is a certain state and they change the laws, you need to move to a different state. Maybe it's a certain country and they change the laws, you need to move to a different country. Maybe you'll decide that that there's a multi-signature arrangement that you trust. And I think the fact that there could be 1 billion people with their own custody, and the fact that everybody has the ability to take custody of their property, that keeps the integrity of the network sound. And I think it's the one thing that gives me hope. And at the end of the day, the reason that the politicians in the Western world will negotiate in a peaceful fashion to come up with an arrangement is going to be because the companies that have the Bitcoin will have the option to move the Bitcoin to a different country or to move a different custodian. And the point that I will make in my debate with Mr. Giestra next week is that the difference between having $1 billion of gold and $1 billion of Bitcoin is if you have $1 billion of gold and I drop a bomb on your building and I kill everybody, I can dig through the rubble and take the gold. The gold will still be there. If I burn your house down, the gold will still be there. I can shoot you and take the gold. But if you have $1 billion in Bitcoin and it's protected by multi-sig passwords and you kill everybody, you're not getting the Bitcoin. And so I think that Bitcoin lends itself to peaceful resolution in a rational fashion with consequences. And I think that certain other types of wealth, like land, gold, physical, tangible wealth, they lend themselves to just seizing it at the barrel of a gun with force. And I think you'll see that play out. You even see it playing out right now outside the US, right? Where a country says, we don't want you to buy Bitcoin anymore. They might be able to stop you from buying it or selling it, but they can't stop you from owning it. And they can't take it away from you. And so I think that that's a great thing for Bitcoin. And I don't think you have to. There are some companies that couldn't buy the underlying Bitcoin, but I encourage everybody that can to buy the Bitcoin and be in a position to take custody of their keys or to take custody of their keys. And it just depends on the entity.
So there's Michael Saylor with how he expects Bitcoin to play out over the remainder of the year. Now, some recent on-chain Bitcoin data regarding the most recent dip. Out on behalf of Sentiment, we have the Bitcoin supply on exchanges over the most recent correction, and if the correction has you scared and selling your Bitcoin, I have one question for you. Who do you think you are selling your Bitcoin to? The answer is Bitcoin whales. They've taken the opportunity to continue to load up on the Bitcoin supply that's been put on exchanges from holders, as we can see from the huge dip of Bitcoin supply on exchanges. If supply continues to leave exchanges, then I personally remain very bullish on the future of BTC. Anyway guys, let me know what you think of that on-chain data in the comments. Hope that provided you with some value. I'll see you in the next video, and as always, have a great day.